Overnight, the 25,000 crore real money gaming industry, fantasy sports, rummy, poker, Dream 11, MPL, is effectively shut down. Coincidentally, we happen to share the same building as MPL. The visuals today are saddening. Boards being taken down, executives going back and forth in tense meetings. It's actually a reminder that behind every regulation are thousands of people whose lives and work are directly impacted. We are here if you guys need us, and today's session will not just analyze the bill, but also touch upon solutions and pivots, the paths forward if and when they are required. It's actually a very sad day for all, but it's also a day where support is pouring in from across the country. Leaders like Priyank Kharge, Karnataka's IT minister, have already raised concerns, calling this a rushed move that risks driving 40 crore users to offshore betting apps, costing India 25,000 crore rupees in FDI and over 2 lakh jobs. His call is quite clear: regulation, not prohibition. And that's where our conversation today will be so important and pivotal. But on the bright side, esports and social gaming, well, they have been given a green flag and government backing. Is this a bold reform protecting society, or just a blunt instrument that risks jobs and investments? To decode this, I am joined by Prabhu Ram, who is, of course, Vice President at CyberMedia Research, CMR, where he leads the Industry Intelligence Group. Prabhu is a globally recognized tech analyst and evangelist, known for decoding consumer behavior, technology trends, and innovation pathways for both multinational giants and disruptive startups. I would like for us to dive in with Prabhu and welcome him to the show. Welcome to the show, Prabhu. How are you doing?
Absolutely great. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's a true pleasure. Unfortunately, a dark day in terms of all of the jobs and the industry on the whole at risk right now. But we would love for you to give us insights, as always, Prabhu. Uh, right off the bat, the industry outlook from your perspective as a tech analyst.
I am
What is
unable to
the
hear you guys.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me, Prabhu? I hope you can hear me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We lost you in between there. Yeah.
Okay, fair. I hope we don't lose each other again because it will be traumatic. Uh, right off the bat, the industry outlook from your perspective as actually a tech analyst, and I wanted to get into that. What does the online gaming bill signal about India's stance on digital economy governance?
Got you. So let me just take a step back and talk in terms of what we are seeing from a gaming perspective. Gaming has been seeing significant, inflection over the last few years. Just post pandemic, if you were to see, the amount of hours being spent on gaming has increased significantly. While we are a smartphone gaming nation, there has been a shift that we have seen from casual gamers to, or hyper casual to serious
Hmm.
gamers as such,
Hmm.
with increased gaming time spent. So coming to real money gaming as such, our most recent survey pointed out like 56% of those gamers actually are focused on real money gaming and spending close to 12 hours or so every week on real money
Wow.
games. Yeah,
Wow.
so that's a significant number, and that
Yes.
again, we are just talking of gamers. This is a culture where we have seen and chronicled the shift from free to freemium to premium spends, actually, with gamers spending more time and money also on playing as such. Coming to today's developments,
Sure.
regulatory oversight continues to be a key a theme as such. The digital economy in India has been on an inflection, and as we mature, there is a stage wherein there needs to be those caveats put in place, and those regulatory approaches have to be clarified, and so on. And so it's quite early in the day to even really analyze the impact in detail. But from a policy point, more such oversight would be expected, stricter oversight would be expected, and we have seen this in OTT and other domains as well. Coming to the real impact, of course, we spoke about gamers. We There are those companies which have been investing on it.
Sure.
There are also those on the downstream who are dependent on this. So there
Yes.
are implications across the board as such. Yeah.
But I mean, you mentioned a few times oversight. You mentioned a few times the word regulatory. So, would you believe with? Would you go with what Mr. Priyank Karge had mentioned in terms of regulation vis-a-vis prohibition? I mean, I'm asking you in terms of what is maybe your instinctual thought on that.
There has to be a middle ground somewhere. Like, there are those challenges which we have seen in terms of how this all plays out in terms of societal impact, and so safeguards are definitely required in that sense. Again, do note that, like, most of these gamers, they also come from what we call as aspirational India. That's
Sure.
India beyond the urban India, as such we call it,
Yeah.
beyond
Yeah.
and beyond. So when those gamers are involved, they wouldn't be so nuanced in terms of their understanding of what
Hmm.
they're getting into, and there are implications in terms of livelihoods and all getting impacted, families getting impacted.
Sure.
So safeguards are definitely required in that sense. Again, as I said, there could be those various takes in terms of is too much regulation
Hmm.
the right
Hmm.
way, or there has to be a middle ground. I still, as I said before, like, it's quite early in the day for me to even
No, fair
think it.
enough. No, fair
Yeah.
enough.
So
No,
I do
but
feel like,
because I think Prabhu, what I would like for me to follow up on this would be this, that yes, it is of course a bill that has been passed.
yeah.
And of course we did talk about the fact that it needs to be nuanced, and there needs to be probably a certain amount of regulation, etc., for ban. But actually the bigger question is that will this push India closer to global best practices or actually isolate us? Because that is actually a big question.
So we have always gone through this process before. If you were to look at it, there has always been a scope for innovation that has come forth in the aftermath of new regulatory frameworks and all coming into place. So somewhere, like, what we are seeing now in terms of this oversight coming to place, there would be some alignment coming in terms of how to go about things and so on. We have had issues in other sectors as well, where
Hmm.
startups have done well, and there have been some issues in terms of governance, right? So,
Would you want to probably just indicate them very quickly for our viewers here from an
uh,
analyst point of view?
my whole point here is, like, again, there are those risks, as you said, that which are real. I am aligned on that part. Again, there are those challenges which would come forth of this. The point I'm making is, when it comes to innovation,
Hmm.
there will definitely be an opportunity for stakeholders, including startups and others, to
Sure.
really innovate in the new battleground as such. Yeah. And this would align us in terms of the overall global economy as well, the way things are across developed markets as well.
See, actually, the clarion call of the bill, I'm sure you're well versed with it, but basically it is talking about a consumer impact, correct?
Yeah.
And the government's point is that the ban actually protects the youth from addiction and debt traps. So basically, based on your research, and this would be crucial for a lot of us to understand, that what would be the consumer behavior be like in terms of your analysis? Do bans actually effectively protect users, or do they actually risk pushing them toward illegal offshore platforms? Because let's face it, it is a need at some level or the other, somebody's feeling it. So if you're shutting something down, there is that innate human nature to say, all right, let me try to push myself towards the other place.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, those illegal platforms and all that could definitely come up. There would be those risks which are clearly out there, and the end game would be obviously like to create that awareness amongst gamers
No, but
to.
my question is, sorry, Prabhu, I'm cutting you through. But more importantly, the crux is that what does your experience say in terms of the analysis point of view, in terms of the bans? Do they really have that sort of a resonance that probably one is expecting or the government is expecting out of this bill?
Again, I wouldn't be qualified to speak on that, but from an analyst point of view, there has been always a innovation which has come forth beyond these developments as such, and I expect those innovations to come forth here also, which means in terms of gaming startups which are impacted. To pivot and forge new pathways, for instance, for gamers to get more aware of the challenges in terms of the real hurdles at home in terms of livelihood and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There policy doesn't go all in isolation. It will be in parallel with continuous education, also in parallel
Yes,
with all
yes,
the
has to
initiatives
be.
out there. We have been chronicling at our end at CMR in terms of esports sector. So there are a lot of avenues where we do feel the energies could be channelized further.
Mm-hmm.
There are impacts which are for sure are there in terms of the real money gaming, as you point out. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
Prabhu, you just mentioned innovation and startups. Actually, India has more than 2,000 gaming startups.
Yeah.
Many are VC backed. So, do you see this as pretty much as a death knell for innovation, or will startups actually start to pivot towards esports, edtech, like you mentioned, and social gaming instead? But more importantly, has it probably put the fear of God in terms of that entire aspect of innovators and startups post this bill? Is there going to be a lot of reticence?
Uh, Again, what I really love about our nation is the resilience that we all have, and that resilient spirit is something where we understand for sure, like how to really bounce back and navigate in
This
the
will
new
take a
dynamic.
lot of bouncing back, Prabhu.
Absolutely. So, but again, just to expand on the thought, like what it would come to is definitely startups which are mature, which have the understanding and which have the resolve. They would be able to really look at pivoting to esports and other social gaming as such.
Mm-hmm.
Again, from purely an analyst point of view, what we have seen is that social gaming is on an inflection. Esports, for instance, there are a very healthy ecosystem out there. More smartphone brands are now involved in enabling esports teams as such. They are also sponsoring esport champions as well from aspirational India. So all of which means that and aligned with that trend which I spoke about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
there is a shift happening from free to premium gaming as such, which means consumers are or gamers are willing to pay for subscription, which was not the case 4 or 5 years back. So we are seeing that shift. We have spoken about it extensively at CMR, and what that points out to is that as long as these gaming startups look at some innovative options in terms of the free to premium levels, some mix of subscriptions coming into play, they should
Mm-hmm.
be in a play where if they are investing in innovation, they should be able to thrive as such.
Prabhu, of course, with what you just said, it almost seems as if you're looking at this as probably the next sunrise sector, where I'm talking about, of course, esports. But if it is, for example, let's say it is the next sunrise sector, do you feel that we have the infrastructure, or probably we need to build some sort of infrastructure to make sure that we'll be able to support it, and India then will make it actually globally competitive?
It's a work in progress that's happening, where federations are involved, the gaming startups are involved, smartphone brands are involved,
Hmm.
policy is also there, both at the center as well as the state governments, to really foster this segment as such.
Hmm.
So I feel esports, and the insights point to esports definitely being a sunrise sector, and
The
it,
Sorry, but if you can hear that banging sound, Prabhu, that's actually the bill banging into our conversation. I'm just mentioning that. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, carry on.
yeah. So I
There we
do
go
feel.
again.
So
Sorry.
definitely,
Yeah.
from a directional point of view, I do see esports. The trajectory is clear. It is northbound. I don't see any issues. Even and trick is not to analyze it just in the aftermath of today, but rather like all indicators over the last 2 years or so point to a healthy ecosystem coming into play as such. Yeah.
Okay. Many betting apps, right, are basically cross border, and we are aware of that, and actually rebrand overnight. So, basically, from a technology and regulatory enforcement standpoint, what solutions do you see for monitoring, blocking, and actually maybe preventing circumvention?
So again, if, a more of a nuanced legal opinion would be required here, but definitely, like there are the government
No, but I
oversight.
mean, you've been very, very erudite in terms of whatever you have spoken to us about Prabhu till now. So, I would genuinely love your opinion on this.
So as I said, oversight in terms of looking where this games are being played, and what kind of apps are coming into focus. There will be those mechanisms in place to tackle that. Again, it would be too premature for me to really, and beyond my competence to talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. Finally, in summary, this is, of course, where I would like to ask you the final question and wrap up our session, which has, of course, been quite interesting. So, do you see this bill actually as a course correction for India's digital economy, or as actually a missed opportunity where a nuanced regulatory framework could have both protected users and preserved innovation?
In all fairness, like as I said, like a digital economy which is on the boom, and there are initiatives which are required to create that conducive environment. So policy would definitely be there to guide us moving forward. What I feel is like, yeah, I hear you, and I completely understand where you're coming from. Um,
Thankfully, I'm happy that you can hear me despite the banging bill. Right.
so yeah, the argument could be that, like, a much more rather than without caveat any such bill coming into play, there could have been more deliberations and all. But I do feel that there is that middle ground somewhere in terms of how things will move forward. Um, as I said in the beginning, and as I said in
Mm-hmm.
between as well, it's too early in the day for me to even really think through in terms of what all of this means for not just the core affected users or the gaming innovation startups and so on, but also those on the downstream who are dependent
Sure.
on this. There are
Yep.
livelihoods
Yep.
at stake. There are companies which are at stake. There's money at stake as well
Yes, for
for all the
sure.
startups which have invested in innovation and so on. And
Future pipelines as well. I mean,
absolutely.
when one thinks about it, it is mind-boggling, Prabhu.
So, which is where, I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always, even in the punditry that we do from an analyst point of view, uh, it's always easy to look at things as black or white, either
Yeah.
four or eight. What all throughout, like what we have been talking right now, I am all game. I am just telling you that there is a gray area in between,
Sure.
which means there are the goods and the bads. Obviously, much more deliberations could help. Much more, understanding in terms of what startups are looking for, that would help. But again, at the same time, I do feel like Indian startups are resilient, and they do have the wherewithal to really innovate and bounce back as such. So I am very much looking forward to gaming as a sector at CMR. We are very clear about the direction in which yes, gaming industry is progressing. Our gaming research practice points out to all the insights pointing to a positive future for all ecosystem stakeholders as such.
Fair enough. Well, Prabhu, thank you so much for that little silver lining right at the end of that. It, yes, augurs fairly well. Of course, requires a lot of resilience, as you said, and a lot of grit to first digest what's happened and then try to pivot and find out what's the best way to overcome this. Well, thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining us. And of course, we'll be coming back to you in days to come as the developments probably are a little more dynamic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Have a wonderful evening. All right. So, in conclusion, this is what we feel. Gambling disguised as gaming has been dealt a death blow. But in the process, has India actually secured its digital future or scared off innovation altogether? We would really like for you to tell us what are your thoughts as far as this development is concerned. This is, of course, Front Page by AIM Network. And it's that time, you know what to do. Yes, that is, of course, Think AI, Think AIM.